It was all in the right key: terror, tremolo, tears. "Is it possible?" murmured Hortense. "Is it possible? You had seen her beforehand?" "I had to, of course." "But when?" "This morning, when we arrived. While you were titivating yourself at the hotel at Carhaix, I was running round to see what information I could pick up. As you may imagine, everybody in the district knows the d'Imblevalle Vaurois story. I was at once directed to the former midwife, Mademoiselle Boussignol. With Mademoiselle Boussignol it did not take long. 3 minutes to settle a new version of what had happened, and 10,000 francs to induce her to repeat that, more or less credible, version to the people at the manor house. A quite incredible version. Not so bad as all that, my child, seeing that you believed it, and the others too. And that was the essential thing. What I had to do was to demolish at one blow a truth which had been 27 years in existence, and which was all the more firmly established because it was founded on actual facts. That was why I went for it with all my might and attacked it by sheer force of eloquence. Impossible to identify the children? I deny it. Inevitable confusion? It's not true. You're all three, I say, the victims of something which I don't know, but which it is your duty to clear up. That's easily done, says Jean-Louis, whose conviction is at once shaken. Let's send for Mademoiselle Boussignol. Right, let's send for her. Whereupon Mademoiselle Boussignol arrives and mumbles out the little speech which I have taught her. Sensation, general stupefaction, of which I take advantage to carry off our young man. Hortense shook her head. But they'll get over it, all three of them, I'm thinking. Never, never. They will have their doubts, perhaps, but they will never consent to feel certain. They will never agree to think. Use your imagination. Here are three people whom I have rescued from the hell in which they have been floundering for a quarter of a century. Do you think they're going back to it? Here are three people who, from weakness or a false sense of duty, had not the courage to escape. Do you think that they won't cling like grim death to the liberty which I'm giving them? Nonsense! Why, they would have swallowed a hoax twice as difficult to digest as that which Mademoiselle Boussignol dished up for them. After all, my version was no more absurd than the truth. On the contrary, and they swallowed it whole. Look at this. Before we left, I heard Madame d'Imblevalle and Madame Vaurois speak of an immediate removal. They were already becoming quite affectionate at the thought of seeing the last of each other. But what about Jean-Louis? Jean-Louis? Why, he was fed up with his two mothers. By jingo, one can't do with two mothers in a lifetime. What a situation! And when one has the luck to be able to choose between having two mothers or none at all, why, bless me, one doesn't hesitate. And, besides, Jean-Louis is in love with Geneviève. He left. And he loves her well enough, I hope and trust, not to inflict two mothers-in-law upon her. Come, you may be easy in your mind. Your friend's happiness is assured. And that is all you ask for. All that matters is the object which we achieve, and not the more or less peculiar nature of the methods which we employ. And if some adventures are wound up and some mysteries elucidated by looking for and finding cigarette ends, or incendiary water bottles and blazing hat boxes, as on our last expedition, others call for psychology and for purely psychological solutions. I have spoken, and I charge you to be silent. Silent? Yes, there's a man and woman sitting behind us, who seem to be saying something uncommonly interesting. But they're talking in whispers. Just so. When people talk in whispers, it's always about something shady. He lit a cigarette and sat back in his chair. Hortense listened, but in vain. As for him, he was emitting little slow puffs of smoke. 15 minutes later, the train stopped, and the man and woman got out. Pity, said Rénine, that I don't know their names or where they're going, but I know where to find them. My dear, we have a new adventure before us. Hortense protested. Oh no, please, not yet. Give me a little rest. And oughtn't we to think of Geneviève? He seemed greatly surprised. Why, all that's over and done with. Do you mean to say you want to waste any more time over that old story? Well, I for my part confess that I've lost all interest in the man with the two mammas. And this was said in such a comical tone, and with such diverting sincerity, that Hortense was once more seized with a fit of giggling. Laughter alone was able to relax her exasperated nerves and to distract her from so many contradictory emotions. End of chapter 3, part 2.